Hey everyone, make sure to tap the like button so people get hooked on it, send them a friendly comment, and keep everyone buzzing in the video. If you haven't joined yet, hit that subscribe button right away to be part of our family. The first thing we see are monsters storming through the streets while desperate humans flee in terror, screaming about how a weak creature can be just as scary to them. Those who climb toward the cliff's edge find their voices echoing with panic, knowing there is no way out, but must flee so fast they might never see a second chance. The monster pulls back with surprising speed before they can dodge it and fall behind that ancient-looking rock. A little girl stood frozen mid-prey, her heart hammering against her ribs as she waited for a strange light to appear around her and tell her where to hide, though the beast was already watching all along. A tiny girl starts begging the creature not to hurt her, yet the beast eats her instantly before anyone can see what happened next. Nearby, an injured boy questions whether he truly knows who Ghost Star is, thinking a simple test might be that hard. The story goes that once you've finished changing the materials in the lab, you need just 5 minutes on the ghost ship to make sure it turns out right. The name of this boy is Jang Kai, and he is currently undergoing the beginner test period on a strange planet called Ghost Star, where an ordinary person would probably struggle to survive even for a single minute because their journey began before anyone else could reach it. After Ghost Star appeared, the planet's plants and animals got suddenly wild changes and turned into giant monsters with the name Beast Gods. These scary creatures were too big for human machines, so humanity went from strength to weakness. Even though it was hard, many magical doors opened up on Earth. By walking through them, people could jump instantly back to Ghost Star in a digital world where they became any job and got better at it. And the best part? If you reached that high level on Ghoster, those skills could come back to life on real Earth. Imagine walking into a world where your very muscles can shatter like glass against the power of the beast gods. It really needed a big power source. Thousands of brave travelers packed their bags as soon as they found the empty room in Ghost Star and came together under the stars together to discover new worlds, just like a group of friends exploring an open map. The protagonist, who was still hiding away, suddenly realized that they were alone in this place and knew they could be the last one to survive. However, there's no escaping this trap, so the beast moves toward the hidden rock behind him, causing Jang to wonder if it came to Ghoster merely to wait until he himself died. So Kai remembered his sister whispering that if he really wanted to go on a wild trip to Ghost Star, it was totally okay because her own dad and her older brother were already working so hard making sure they could afford such a big adventure. The story begins with an old sister who has walked through thick mud and cold weather since a young age, while her older brother struggles with kidney failure, but keeps working hard to save his life because he knows they can't wait until surgery is done within 2 months. Otherwise, the whole family will face disaster. But right now, he's already halfway through school and wasting his family's savings on a wait that won't finish until tomorrow. The beast launched a mighty attack, making Jiang scramble away as he realized that staying put was pointless. He'd rather risk every coin than watch his loved ones die on the spot. The beast lunges toward Kai, grabbing his shoulder while he hesitates to gamble on the only shot at survival before he crashes into the cliffside. The sky erupts with a sudden flash of light, startling him as his behavior suddenly mirrors that of an insomniac gambler who has triggered a deep-seated compulsion for wealth and success. Jang coughs and gasps, staring dumbly at the scene where the monster had just struck him before he plummeted down. He blinked open his tired eyes to find himself standing on the ground instead of in a dangerous spot, realizing that everything he had survived before vanished too soon. And immediately after, he gets another system notification telling him he finished changing the foundation all on its own in the right amount of time, which means his health has completely recovered to normal. Kai asked if this was a central AI that lived alongside Ghoster, and the system confirmed it could indeed be there. He praised him warmly once more for finishing his current mission, then told him that the next wave would bring new talents to the player class. It's a dual skill where every reward and punishment your character gets from the game itself can cause them to react unexpectedly, sometimes even doubling that reaction with only a tiny 1% chance to do something much more powerful. When you activate Super Double, your rewards get doubled while your penalties also double. And just like that, every class talent counts twice as well. You not only gain another bonus talent automatically, but also earn the special gambler's talent. He stood up in shock because everyone else suddenly got their single favorite skill once they changed jobs, but he had too. The system confirms this is the effect and shows you the stats for your second super critical talent. Damage becomes 200 times your normal hit rate with a Jang remark that after a job change, ordinary people usually hold around 20 points. Yet you've reached 36. New notifications tell him that because of your dual talents, they can double every attribute point granted when changing professions. And Kai wonders if this can also be duplicated in the future, wondering how much faster he would evolve compared to others on Ghost Star unless it's just leveling up. The system just warned him once again. His critical damage has doubled, and the initial hit rate is now only 1%. But that wasn't all. Alongside that, he unlocked a second supercritical talent. While others only get factor of 2 off their hits, he gets 20 times more damage every time. Though his current shot chance looks like a single hiccup on the clock, if that flicker gets better, his big hits could shake the world apart. Jang wonders if that weapon is the one used by the Beast earlier. So before it did, he only wanted to finish his job change as fast as possible to make money for his brother's surgery. He didn't expect to suddenly get a new evaluation and become a hidden, powerful profession on Ghoster. Thinking this way, Jang might be able to quickly gather all the money needed for his older brother's medical expenses so he can have a better life. No matter how hard you try, finishing that first part of a difficult test mission just gets you started. If you get caught in traps or lose your mind before reaching the final city of Sacred Radiance in 7 days, everything collapses and you're thrown back to life on Earth. Even though dying on the ghost ship hurts your soul and lets you come back later, that minor reward isn't for everyone. It's a privilege the wealthy can actually enjoy. No one else in this world would dare enter that star to save their own life. It costs far too much to miss a chance, so they have to fight every single day until they make it. Just as Jang noticed something, the silence stretched out in front of him like an empty room waiting for his attention. An intense roar of thunder rolls in from the distance as a strange, unfamiliar sound sweeps across the air like a stormy sea. He pulls his head back behind the thick green leaves and whispers, "It sounds exactly like my own scream." As the giant monster opened its huge mouth in shock, a desperate young man cried out for help, and instantly, it recognized that voice as belonging to his longtime friend, Yuanju. The protagonist stands frozen in the thick mud, staring up at a wall of towering, brown earth snakes whose mouths are wide open like burning embers, realizing now that their venom isn't just hot. It's so deadly that even one bite could end his life alone and leave him with no choice but to die. Yuan stumbles back as the giant in front charges with a spear, shouting, "Don't get scared. I've been coming all along." Yuan asks what he's doing there, so Kai says, "Don't worry about him. I can run away because these snakes have high attributes and deadly poison, but they're still only one level down with no chance of defeating them." Kai keeps advancing and kills a snake with just one attack. Jay is shocked and asks if he really did manage to kill one. The man, who had been running with a partner, suddenly realized they were both now vulnerable targets while the snake hunters got closer and closer around him. Yuan shouted, "Everything's done. The snake pack is so fast." Jang successfully sidestepped a violent blow toward Ju, causing him to gasp in surprise at just how far he got. Kai knew that after the lesson ended, his powers had grown so strong it seemed like a second wind. Yet when he tested himself as an untrained beginner, his raw speed was already on par with someone at 2 levels higher than him. The monster cries out loudly as he orders Yuan to focus on keeping his watch. As soon as that command is given, the beast's power drops instantly, and the entire snake pack vanishes before it even reaches its eyes. Yuan remained stunned and declared the real killer was Jang instead of himself. The hero felt a heavy relief as he realized his job wasn't about crushing giant beasts. It was about shooting them down quickly without breaking a single bone in the process. He decided using that steel spike as a boost for his early games because, in Ghoster, raw strength is actually just as powerful as how much you punch. Drew asked his friends if they've ever heard that beginners just die when fighting monsters, then wonder how a real killer could do it without losing themselves first. Jang says his job made him rich, so he's become the most popular gambler in town. No one else knows how this happened. Yuan asked what a gambler actually means, but when he realized his own job isn't terrible despite being an expert, he kept smiling on it. It wasn't hard to know Kai survived like this after fighting 3 wild snakes, because being a warlord was actually just one of the best jobs in the kingdom of Sacred Radiance. Rich explorers get ready for their adventure at Ghost Star by switching roles immediately after buying the special transition tools. People who spend big fortunes usually can do this instantly in jobs like warrior or soldier before arriving. You might wonder why poor folks stick with such raw, basic tools when their chances of moving to a better life seem so open. They could easily do something else, and the outcome isn't guaranteed at all. The protagonist jokes about how much a class change could cost him, then asks Yuan if he borrowed money from sharks. Yuan replies that it was impossible and warns him that this is a long story, promising to explain later. Jang confirms the idea, insisting they must collect the snakes' corpses immediately because even monster bodies can be sold for money. He thought that in Ghoster, lots of things could be traded for cash, but he was also worried about getting enough food to feed his family. When the items like bodies or gear fall from the sky in a Ghoster, they instantly become collectible cards, turning every drop into a bonus for your team. And while the fight is still going on, our character's skills feel super powerful compared to just a regular warrior. As a stranger walked past, the pair jumped for cover. Su Nguyen stepped up as a woman who admits that passing the trial alone is nearly impossible, so the others offered to help form a team together. When she looked down on herself for being unsteady at first, they apologized and explained that taking care of themselves would be very hard, so bringing her along might actually be dangerous. Su rushes in to stop the fight and tells the group they shouldn't be leaving because she's a doctor who heals people with medicine and extracts snake venom to make their weapons even more powerful. Jay comments on how valuable it is to cure poison, while Jang also sees this as one of the top 10 advanced professions. Healing was so critical during the beginner test period. If he had not taken advantage of the class change earlier, he probably would have already lost his life. He then formally introduces himself and proposes that they join forces to proceed together, but no one thanks him. It was like the universe decided to prank Kai by telling him the only way out is to make him think it's all about being a pervert, and then instantly turned into an invitation for a full-blown fight. Meanwhile, on Earth in Zhangjiang, a kingdom called Sacred Radiance stands at the base of a mysterious portal where researchers search for ghosts in a lab. This time, an analyst praised the new wristwatches because they are so perfect that they can truly find explorers. A passerby notes this because most modern smartwatches are everywhere detecting hidden star data, so the newer ones are doing even better at making you feel special. Su Lin, the teacher for the first class, looks over at her student who isn't ready yet and asks herself if anyone in her family is feeling okay. The analyst says, "We know how new wristwatches are designed for beginners, so it's all set for those who've got them." Her sister has even made a friend with someone. Lon wonders if Lon is shy or looking for a team to join, though she worries that repeating her warning will only make newcomers more dangerous when they try to group up at the beginner test. Meanwhile, in the wild, 3 of Lan's friends move forward together until strange beasts appear, proving that one isn't enough on their own. 3 minutes after the alarm sounded, the analyst confirmed that 2 scary beast faces had been spotted right in front of her sister. Lon said a single beast of the face was enough to kill beginners, and that facing 2 would make her sister virtually helpless. She told Ghost Star that finalizing there creates an incredibly realistic experience capable of causing severe mental distress, so she decided to go through therapy instead. The analyst asked her to wait, noting that her sister still hadn't been finalized, which left Lon stunned. Then he explained that those 2 face beasts had actually both been finished. And Lon, who was completely stunned by what she heard, asked how it's possible. The beast population surged back toward 3 minutes ago as they raced forward. Nguyen ran with the same trembling fear as Jay, wondering if he was right when his companion suggested something fierce might be hiding there. The protagonist sprinted past, paused to see the others aren't as fast as him, and knew they'd surely get caught before Jang stopped and ordered them on. Yuan growled at Kai, but he told them to keep moving while fearing if they ran away like this, all 3 would be captured. He swings wildly at the monster with his spear, keeping his eyes locked on its hand until it finally strikes hard and yells, sending him flying into a nearby rock. Jang knows the face beast is incredibly strong and can't even take a single hit before realizing its true power. 2 wild beasts burst forward, knocking Kai wide awake as the morning light hits him, and he stumbles back in panic because he's just finished his first training test. The girl cried out, screaming she was in immediate danger, and urgently ordered the people back so they could help her. An old woman watches over a paralyzed man named Ju on Earth as an elderly neighbor in Zhangjiang asks him about his recent job change, noting that Ju looks like the perfect warrior but is too shy to admit it was just fear from Earth. She warned him strongly, unless he faced a beast like a ghostin, he wouldn't even think about going there. The old man with his hat said to the girl, "When our son faces a real threat, he is much more afraid of death than any normal human being. Even when he's terrified at every moment, seeing a kid truly in trouble always makes him stop and stay right there with him instead of backing off." In the hidden forest, Jay strikes down 2 fierce beasts with a mighty blow, snapping them back into their hiding spots. He then asks his partner if he was treated like a stranger, saying that he was protected because he was timid, and proudly states that they are brothers who exist to face everything together. The protagonist's shock turns into action as he stands up and Yuan charges back at the enemy, sending a powerful impact toward them, while Jang wonders if his partner can truly face such a beast alone. Even though the damage seems low, it is Su who uses her skill to keep him on track. Nguyen smiled, knowing the truth was all the same as what they were thinking. She wasn't fighting anyone. She just wanted to stay safe and let her injured friend get treated by a medic before leaving again. She thought she had lost her father years ago because he fought hard to save the ocean from monsters, just not for a long time. Now her friends are relying on this help, so they have nowhere else but to go, and nothing can stop them from staying with each other. He realized the injury was finally cured and jokingly told her she wasn't scared to get finalized. Kai stands in front of the trio, watching as they try desperately to save everyone. Yet his mind keeps whispering that there's too much danger waiting for them. The protagonist notices how Sue mentioned the danger of venomous snakes while they were in the wild, prompting him to ask her if he had heard anything about it before. She confirms his suspicion when she replies, "Yes, I certainly said that." Then Jang calls out to summon a dangerous snake, but Ju insists he has enough venom in his gun to cure her before it bites. Mwan said she didn't think she could handle managing everything all at once, though she'd go out of her way to do her best anyway. She pulls back the snake and pushes the poison into Kai's hand. He knows this is the last chance they have because his mistake could mean they're going to die for nothing. And while a face beast is about to hurt them too badly right now, he steps forward and lets the healer fill the gap with magic. They stood there as a perfect trio: tank, healer, and damage dealer, just like that in the game. And then they noticed the new guys were completely weak, so the venom spell was finally done. He tells his partner to hold one of the face beasts under control by himself. Jay clenches his fist, mana enveloping his entire body, and charges forward, thinking that as long as the three of them form a team and each fulfills their role properly, there is still hope. She launched forward and laughed as her new name terrified the beast before she could even make eye contact with them. A massive explosion erupts, knocking out one of the creatures so that he immediately knows his plan was successful. Yet, as he holds his breath, he suddenly surmises there is still another living beast standing in the shadows, waiting to strike him back. Kai watched as the team worked hand in hand, pushing forward even when it looked like the monsters were coming back at them, while the hero charged toward the beast with Yuan's help and Wan's healing powers, keeping everyone moving along. In the lab, Lon looks at the data on his bracelet and wonders if they've truly wiped out those two beast faces, wondering exactly how three people managed to do it so well when one alone would be enough to kill everyone else right there. The analyst tells the team Nuon has no offensive power at all, and the warrior on their side deals little damage. So whoever killed them must have been a special type of person. But when they try to figure out what kind he was, it turns out the job is hard because there's nothing more specific than just saying special. Lon asked himself, how can we miss a job so obviously right when looking for a new one? He wondered, though, if anyone was actually able to erase these two deadly beasts without the character showing up in the logs. At that moment, the system announced that Kai had collected the corpse of the beast. He lay back against the dirt, gasping for air while his partner laughed at how brilliant his friend had been when everything went wrong. The Nuon state has finally learned how to fight face-to-face beasts because their strength is enough to tackle them head-on and finish the trial without any trouble. Yuan agreed, so he confidently said, let's go straight to finish this. The protagonist gently tells them to rest their minds rather than rushing towards Shangyao City, reminding them that there's still plenty of time left so they don't get too caught in their own excitement. The soldier says that once he clears his exam, points get counted out, and if his grades stay high enough to place him in the top 3 spots for the military, they'll give him a big gear package instead of punishment. It has been told that the military's equipment delivers excellent gear that greatly helps novices develop on Ghost Star. With now having enough strength to defeat monsters themselves, killing them gives points, and when you have those points, there's a real chance of placing in the top 3. Then he asked, why not destroy monsters before looking for those big gold coins? When they laughed and looked puzzled, it meant their minds were all wrong about how to get the loot. It's already pitch black outside when that strange voice finally pulls up from the shadows to ask if this trick truly brings points. He joked back that even though he wasn't scared of the danger, he was always trying to trick them into thinking he'd be alive while he died in one bite. He stands tall and ready for battle because the man he loves needs more than just words. He's got a whole army of weapons waiting on both sides, so he has to pull them out with such courage that even his toughest opponent will be intimidated by him. Juan could instantly fix the injury, but while his hands worked, Yuan Snake got stuck behind him and then suddenly jumped up to slice it off in one swift motion. Ghost Star demands that only the killer receive their prey's experience. Since he is the sole person with the ability to eliminate monsters instantly, Kai rushes out and throws himself into the fray, executing every kill precisely one after another while trying to show his strength to everyone else. On one fateful day, the system cheered for Explorer Jang as he discovered a new power. His experience now equals 100, his rank climbed 2 steps, and the double effect activated to give him extra attribute points every time he leveled up. After fighting every kind of hellish snake in the sky for days, Kai finally reached his very first level and found this incredible thing. After Sue cheers for his climb in the game and Yuan flares up with excitement, he asks himself what his new powers will actually be. He was thrilled when the boss told him to add 20 attributes for leveling, because now at level 2, his total stats reached 56 points, exactly what he thought would be a solid choice. The two were stunned by the revelation that leveling up actually boosts their strength and spirit rather than their constitution, yet they still felt incredibly strong after gaining just 10 points compared to normal people who only get 1. Nguyen watched as Jang reached level 4 with 56 attribute points, a number he realized was already frighteningly close to another person's reach at that same stage of his own journey. Jang replies, "It's not special at all. It's just how our job works. And if we get hit with a penalty, the bad thing gets worse too." Sue admitted she barely grasped the matter at all, yet she insisted her job is incredibly strong, while UN officials argue their own army was just as capable of doing bad things. At that moment, the system sends another notification telling players that reaching level 2 grants a professional skill. Yet because of the gambler's doubling talent, he ends up with 2 skills instead. The protagonist wonders if leveling for other perks can also duplicate, and immediately realizes he now holds 2 skills. Ewan is shocked to hear how strong Sue claims his skills are, only for the system to reveal that he actually has no choice but to use Ghost Hand Card Throw, a move where items pierce with 20% more damage on normal cards and an extra 200% on special ones. But here's the catch. Every single time he throws any item this way, he burns through 100% of his spirit points. And that is just what it takes to upgrade him. The new professional skill lets you see further and track your target better than ever, boosting your vision by half, but costing you 10% more energy each time you cast it. Jang laughed and noted that his friends were all playing for distance rather than close combat, meaning he wasn't sure if they could actually hit each other before hitting the ground yet. But it confirmed their job was just to shoot at everything else, and was a huge relief to have someone capable of doing so. Now that he's got some extra strength, his team can find out about those monsters that give them more XP. 2 days later at the lab, the analyst told himself she was dead while he waited for the news about his sister. Lon shouts, "Newcomers who can make sense together prove they have a special gift," while a mysterious figure arrives to tell those in charge that the novice zone faces an urgent threat and needs everyone's help now. We are stunned to hear what happened when the High Commander spotted another country sending in its own army to attack our undefended zone, a feat so rare it would be a major surprise, and they urgently ordered us to prepare for a massive breach immediately. Inglon asked if that was indeed real before the news broke. They sighed together as they heard Lon say, "If this was true, I'd never have been here," noting that the conspiracy is so serious that spies from abroad are hired to stop foreign people from growing strong. It's up to every person on the team if they can make it through before anyone else gets tested out. But the secret job lets these people sneak into foreign countries by using their skills, and that's okay. And then, these secret groups start using brutal tactics to kill out newcomers, shaking them to their core until they realize the world is gone and can't return, which makes every new player nervous so that ghosts aren't welcome back again. Lan's fist clamped down on the table as she told Ing, "Your sister is so bad at dealing with beasts, and it's a real risk." While Ing immediately went into protective mode to ensure no one got hurt in this new test, because last time they ran into trouble. Jang smiled a little as he heard Ewan ask the question about what was going on. Doesn't matter if he's asking about what's happening right now, or just passing by this spot, since Sue says it's empty anyway. The protagonist throws his spear wildly, sending a deafening crash of metal into the ground so loudly Kai can hear it before he even speaks, then quietly replies that it is far away over there, ready to let them get checked out. Ewan whispers, "There's nothing here," while staring hard at the screen and asking himself, "Did I just get mad?" Shortly after stepping into the woods, the system confirms that Jang just killed a wild boar, and it's already late for Water Eyes. The guy is clearly stumped by this sight. He's asking if he can actually see anything from such a massive distance, while Sue wonders how far off he could have gone to wipe out a level 2 boar. Kai pulls back his spear with a grin, telling everyone the secret of his powers is simply because he's been upgraded to make things easier for all of them. More alerts came to alert you that your dead wolf in the forest is about to be moved, and there are 19 little wolf spines ready to serve as weapons. The hero thinks his new Phantom Handcard Throw is stronger than usual because it makes thrown bullets hit farther away and much more accurately, so he can finally defeat monsters far away before the low-level creatures notice him. The game said Jang would hit the 3rd tier, but his friends told him to find tougher enemies instead. Jang sighed sadly as they stayed in their first zone, while someone else whispered, "That's actually quite fortunate." Kai and his squad stopped mid-sentence when they saw someone watching them go by and immediately realized the moment was too perfect for anyone to miss. So loud was their realization that everyone else must be laughing along. The protagonist peered into the darkness and whispered, "Who am I?" in a breathless voice that echoed like a secret being spoken aloud to the empty room around them. A young man steps forward and whispers, They aren't bad people. They just want their hearts open, their bodies exposed, and let them bleed out until they're gone, or maybe skin them for face beasts to lick them slowly all the way through. Several men gather around them as he speaks. Then a figure leaps out of the water to talk about how they're finally managing things well, since everyone's done with just one goal for today. Jang isn't sure if he really understands what he's talking about. A mysterious stranger steps up after the splash and welcomes him, claiming his mission is to stop anyone trying to sneak in from the other side before it's too late. Sue said, "I know exactly who does these things to those newbies." The two were suddenly very scared, and then Juan said, "Oh no, we've all reached the highest level, which means everyone is now at least level 5. The protagonist stares at the glowing numbers and asks himself, are those real people? He checks his own strength against others, wondering if anyone actually reaches level 5. The shadows of the night are creeping in from behind and around, making the place feel more mysterious as people look up at the ceiling. Jang rushes forward and instantly snaps his jaws at the sight of nothingness. They're told by a man that he wants them both away from him, so they immediately begin their chase. The captain sneered, challenging everyone to see that getting in trouble and scattering so fast isn't a sign of cowardice at all. It's just how Shan people behave. The old man ordered a pair of men to make sure that terrible coward disappeared entirely, so the other survivors could head straight into the deep dark where they'll have to wait out a slow, crushing torture. Kai runs through the dark woods, dodging attacks from two men who are shouting about how quick his speed makes him seem, until they finally see what's really going on behind him. Suddenly, the group looked up and saw a shadow moving away from them. They were completely startled, scrambling to their feet and shouting questions like, "Are you hiding or playing hide-and-seek?" Their excitement only grew when they finally spotted him again, because he was going to cut off his own feet first. A loud thump echoes as the heavy weapon flies toward him from the dark shadows. The man who caught the boy said, "We'll see how much you're up for defending yourself in front of Rookie." He slammed into the wall right before his eyes closed, flying wide open as if to stop time. His partner stares at the wall with wide eyes as a loud bang hits the floor right behind him. The villain asked why he had been thrown this far, and if he was all right. He knew exactly what had happened when he saw his companion already marked as final, so he tried to figure out why the situation was impossible. He whispered to the shadows, admitting that his very last act was so weak it felt like a complete failure, while the masked man looked at him with a look of disbelief that confirmed his fears. The panicked hero, caught off guard at the top of a cliff, urgently checks his own rank against the high walls and asks if he can really stand up against a level 3 opponent without getting killed by an extra shot. The detective stepped back to check the new recruit stats, seeing they were all just shy of 60 total attributes. When he asked if these little guys could actually handle high-level combat, the others looked at each other with horror before being tossed into a spot where nothing but instant death awaited them. He thought, "Oh my god, I've actually conquered everything." He'd sneered that he'd split up carefully just so the road cops could catch him. You're not quite ready for that yet. There's definitely still some extra experience you need before you can truly hit level 3. So when the guy who lived only on Earth got his chance to explore other worlds and win an adventure, he found out that actually giving someone more chances helps them learn a lot faster. He smiles on to tell you he's taking your lost friend's bracelet right before the boss vanishes. So decide if you want to steal its gold now. The brave explorer ran into the tough trio of level 3 challengers and got away with a win. They also earned 100 XP for every one they defeated, which is a lot to say about such an easy task. Every time he takes a loot point, he gets to earn 2 times as much experience. Kai decided his life was worth the risk if he could earn real-world skills by letting people go rather than hunting them down. He decides to take a massive hit of loot for every single one of the 100 XP he has earned. The system is happy he crossed the threshold to level 3, because those 8 high-level spies from level 5 are just missing out at about 60 points. Jang grabs the watch for the final act of his last-minute escape and decides he finally has enough strength to sprint back toward Ju and the rest of the team, while Yuan and Sue are already hurt in a dense forest and immediately start screaming about one being a martial artist and the other a doctor. They don't expect to meet 2 high-level experts like this right here. The group stood in a room and said, "We'll torture them until we're done." Even though Nguyen is still hurt, she keeps pushing forward to fix the situation, and her friend asks if his partner will ever return from the chase. Yuan answers with a smile, so wide his eyes look like they can see into the abyss. "I'll go because even when my brother runs away from danger, I won't stop him from doing anything else." The protagonist steps forward, enveloped in an aura that causes the clowns to cough as invisible spikes shoot up. The boy said, "I know I'll be coming home." The secret-minded captain whispers, "Who's there? Did someone flee before?" And he immediately turns his back on him, saying nothing at all. Sean keeps looking around every time she wonders if anyone can give her a new job that will actually get her in the beginner zone. He found himself staring at the wall and suddenly knew they had to run away. Sue scolds the thief as he runs away from the secret hideout. The old man jumps into the river to ask if he will go home empty-handed after beating his brother for everything. The hero fires a blade that cuts through an opponent, then collapses onto his back while shouting, "All the spies have vanished. And what are they doing?" He finally returned to his house. Yet Sue tells him her brother is in serious trouble, so she won't be able to fix him anymore. Ewan coughed and said, "I knew Kai would come back for this one, but I'm sure he wouldn't go any further. No matter what happens, our adventures together are his most precious memories. So now each of them has their own responsibility and is ready to try again." Nguyen began to sob uncontrollably while Jang lowered his chin, seeking comfort as if something terrible was bothering him deeply. "You're right, folks. That's a smart plan. He's going to build the 2 secret guilds like tightrope walks before launching a big mission where everyone gets back to normal fast, so you'll never see any serious damage while they're on their way." Sue smiled at the map and agreed, knowing that on Ghoster you could actually earn experience and level up by killing those evil explorers. He thought Ewan said that only if he pretended for nothing did he matter. Kai is telling the story because he has already known the truth. A secret group of kidnappers just tortured their victims to break them up so that those same killers could come back and hurt everyone else again, proving exactly how revenge works in this world. A secret whisper asks if the demand isn't really too much. A protagonist asks if it really matters, saying Shun calls repaying favors a traditional virtue, while Ju insists they must show this to everyone. The mysterious group that these people are actually fighting is far too terrifying because Shang's newcomer just destroyed everything else in their path, even making those same villains lose levels and humiliate them further. Officials from another country wonder what the Shang secret profession really does for countering this threat. While a Shanghai analyst spoke up, telling the story how bad things were all along, he pointed out that the analysis was based on an earlier message from Luan, where his team clearly found hidden problems. Luan showed deep concern by weighing how big the new person was, noting that no one had ever slipped out of this secret life, and telling them to think carefully about their mental health before the deal went live. The analyst confirms his mistake by noting that, despite meeting these secret people, they didn't kill anyone and instead grew stronger. Everyone was stunned by Ying's revelation that she could survive while secretly killing monsters alongside her clan. The analyst answers that it's possible even if she only once leveled up, but the data prove her levels twice consecutively. He then asks why this happened and suggests there is a logical reason behind eliminating the group of clandestines. A cup falls to the ground, and Lon shouts loudly at the commander. Ing looked visibly shaken as he ordered the team to show Nuon's data instantly. The sound echoed around them while their numbers appeared on screen before Ing realized they had reached level 3 and that without clearing out any spies, it wouldn't be possible to climb 2 levels in such a hurry. Lon laughed, realizing now how completely ridiculous this claim was. Since none isn't even a combat sport, why would anyone care about damaging them so heavily? Even when Jung did try to crush the entire underground network by himself in one go, Lon doubted that feat at all. It was too far for anything but an exaggerated story. He asked me why my intuition said he was the right person, even though I didn't know if his job level or profession were actually known yet. He laughed and explained that he found out why Jang couldn't talk, noting that every explorer entering Ghoster had to wear a special bracelet to keep their data safe. Kai is stuck with that old first-gen bracelet, which has been offline for over 10 years. It's sending too many errors, and he can't even read his own logbooks anymore. He laughed out loud while wiping his eyes, completely stunned by how long he'd waited for this old watch to finally show up again. In a forest where everything feels like an adventure, Ing decides to dive deep into the hidden details about Jang by asking everyone around to tell him all their secrets and stories. Meanwhile, in another part of the woods, Ewan is busy partying until he finally feels strong enough to jump back up into his tree. Sue is thrilled to see Earthshaker Stomp in action while Jay asked if she had actually learned that powerful move, noting its incredible strength and how it now repels nearby enemies. She immediately claimed she had activated the benevolent healer skill instead, which made her healing even more effective. The guy said he was sure everyone would expect him to be super cool in his fighting moves, but actually it's just very practical and real stuff for people who want to get hurt or save lives. Ewan tells Kai to be careful because he's only up a step in the ladder, but the boss still demands he try to scold his own superiors at the same time. Jang questions Jang if he truly thinks he has reached the 3rd floor of the underground world, insisting he's already passed it on his own account, before they all look at his actual stats instead. The two were stunned as he claimed only level 2 at all, yet with 96 attributes total, he had reached an explorer's level of 8. Kai tells you that after his first fight, He knocked out 2 secret enemies and climbed up to level 3. Once back from there, he defeated even more foes and finally climbed all the way to level 5, which meant he could now reach level 4. Yuen cries out, "Oh, I'm losing control. I can't handle the pressure anymore," as Sue wonders if we need to talk about what to do instead. The hero shouted back, remembering how the captain had told them to be the secret team, and now he's ready to catch the first one away. Half a day later, in a forest filled with beginners, a voice remarked that this was probably just a common international joke. The clandestines debate whether some of their team was made new people while remaining part of Team 1, which everyone is already a member of at level 5. The team captain ordered a silent hold, telling the people behind the scenes that no one would dare bring up the issue because it's already been done wrong, and we have to stay quiet for now. Sometimes people worry that our group of level 5s will crash into each other when we hit level 5, but in reality, nobody can actually reach that level, so they're completely safe. Doesn't Jay ask himself if he really wants to go through the whole thing with those 9 level 5 clandestines? Or does Sue just want to stop and say no? Jang replies, "Don't worry, because even with his current weapons and skills, he can guarantee an escape for sure. If they don't get caught now, they'll keep trying to find other enemies in the country instead." So rather than just standing there and waiting passively, Jang decides to launch a direct assault first. He thought the ship was off guard, but a crew member whispered, "Something's watching from the back," causing him to order them all to stay still as if they were hiding in plain sight. A cloaked detective noticed a level 4 rookie with an eager eye, while his friend whispered that even surviving there was like a divine gift, almost enough to explain why they were about to level up together and destroy their rival squad. The captain told everyone that finding him was so crucial that they had to stand their ground and hunt him down, knowing it would make for a very impressive feat once he's caught. Kai suddenly felt his heart drop as he saw the others rushing toward him, thinking the worst might be happening next. You remember how you thought you got lucky by getting your partner to jump for a chance with the Earthshaker? You laughed when you imagined taking everyone up in the air and then blasting away at them just because they were flying high. But now the secret team is stretching too thin, so if Jay can't pull everyone off the ground at once, some of us will get trapped in shadows. So even though everything looks safe, there's still one last thing that could go wrong if the whole team decides to go rogue. They'd still need to take a big chance just to keep the door open. He launches himself with a mighty leap, shooting back such enormous power as if he were drawing himself into the air, ready to take on any threat from below, while believing he'll be tough enough for it all. They stopped watching when the boy finally returned and asked what was the point, looking really scared after running all day. It's a tough fight to dodge a punch, yet Jang keeps getting grazed and doesn't think he can really get close again. A shadowy figure roars over him, whispering if he's still running, as people shout threats of getting killed by the moment. He keeps telling himself the distance feels too far away to be close enough. The hero runs away from every blast, and the captain looks confused about why he's running. One of the underground spies says every person in the hall is level 5 and wonders why that rogue assassin could dodge all the punches. A stranger shouted something was wrong, claiming his first reading was too fast and couldn't read everything correctly. Yet with a smart bracelet tucked in his pocket, he finally scanned more accurately and saw that he could now see the agility at just 30 points. The captain, stunned by the question, asked himself, is it really that many points of agility? He didn't know if the secret message was a joke or a lie, for his perfect reflexes were just too good to be true when he got hit by a car. The captain thought to himself, I must be crazy. If that guy truly had such amazing speed, maybe they weren't trying to chase him in the first place. He said the battle was terrible because the army had been tricked by a trap and ordered to run away instantly. Everyone is still puzzled as Jang laments how those same mischievous idiots just discovered the secret. In a flash of panic, they've caught up with everyone else in their own chaotic formation. He suddenly snaps back and fires a beam of pure light, sending the building into a fiery, massive explosion. You hear Kai telling everyone to summon the next boss so he can walk away with all the loot. The captain and the Cladzines got their final words settled right away, and the hero cheered, saying they were all done all at once. Ewan stares at the scene where 9 level 5 monsters vanish simultaneously. He feels furious because he couldn't figure out just which kind of beast was hiding in that fight. The explorer named Jang made an amazing move by slaying 5 deadly criminals while taking out 20,000 XP and finally breaking through the newbie's hardcap to climb up to the very top spot in that area. Kai finally hit level 5 because his boss is a higher level explorer, meaning eliminating 1 boosts your score by double that amount. He says the limit for beginners ends at this point, so a level 5 explorer gives you 40 points. Nguyen is shocked and asks if he really reached it, since she heard that was the cap before. Jay wonders what happens now, since he's already passed that threshold. He explains he deliberately left 4 low-health clandestines to finish them quickly, making him earn more experience. Yuan questions next steps, while Jang replies that defeating monsters alone has been his way of leveling up. But now that he's strong enough, Jang will lead the team in fighting monsters to pile up points before heading straight to the final destination. Yuan decided he was now really in charge of the fight against those monsters. Later, by the time it's really dark, Kai keeps telling them they're nearing a finish line and needs to make sure they've got plenty of room to stop and rest before heading back home. But as they inch toward their goal, the monsters grow increasingly unnerving until beginners are called into play, requiring more care than before. Then, a sudden, deafening roar sends floating debris crashing down onto the floor. Sue watches closely because the bodies look like they came from the dark. Then she sees a few fresh bite marks on them and wonders who made them. He turned up to see what happened because an eye was focused on him. But as he watched the distant golden light, he wondered if a golden monster had somehow taken those two human-faced beasts for his own good. And Juan was staring at the ceiling and wondering what kind of golden creature could possibly exist. At the second watch, a bright beam shoots out behind them and rushes toward them. Jay wonders if this beast can kill two human faces and asks, "Is this coming after us?" The light tightens as it moves close to them, causing Sue to ask what that is. Yuan replies that it is a golden creature whose eyes are locked on them. A soft beam of dawn gently slides toward the figure, causing him to stumble and freeze in a moment of sudden shock. He warned him that the monster dealt heavy damage and bites easily, so he had to stay away from it until the deal was complete. The air grew thick with tension as the crowd gathered tightly for Kai to show off. Suddenly, he stood up, clutching a tiny mouse between his fingers, and let out a nervous laugh. Yuan stares at the screen with shock, wondering if he actually saw a bullet drop, while Nuon nods skeptically, saying it was all just luck. The protagonist questions if the thing is actually fast when he insists it's just a fat, chubby mouse. A tiny mouse, clearly annoyed by what he thought was a temporary slip-up in his life, tried to call himself someone else entirely. His friend Jang felt the same way about him and asked if he really wanted to let the little one go back for another chance. A little mouse jumped up in anger, shouting, "How dare I look down upon that creature?" Jung stared at the wall of blinding light, his heart pounding as he wondered why he had let it go earlier, knowing exactly how dangerous this force was capable of being. He grabbed a mouse and squeezed it tight again, hoping to escape just one more time before it turned into something even worse. Kai was constantly swinging his hands back and forth, shaking his fingers frantically as he tried to keep the mouse from being released. You ask yourself why Yuan seems so quick when it comes to the game, but then Sue pointed out how ridiculous this speed actually looks like. After minutes of struggle, the mouse finally stops moving at all. The protagonist watches as the creature freezes completely in place, realizing its own hands are too slow to escape. Jay says, "You've tamed this one just by being faster than them." While Yuan asks the same question, wondering if he simply grabbed a pet with his own bare hands instead of any other method. Jang answered the question by admitting he doesn't know if mice could turn into warriors, yet he immediately realized that taking free body parts of dead humans was a no-brainer strategy to keep fighting. He tells Sue and Jay that they're nearly at level 4 with their current experience and need to rush to pick up each corpse later. Then they must all go after more monsters until the test ends, while Sue praises the little mouse as cute, and Jay notes his martial disciple seems insignificant compared to it. Suddenly, near those majestic peaks, a lone traveler pauses on the path and whispers to himself. After wandering for weeks, we finally hit the finish line of this very first challenge in holy radiance. The mysterious hooded figure climbs the stairs as a gate opens and guards arrive. One of them cheers him on passing the test period, claiming they are responsible for welcoming new personnel and greeting him, noting he has now officially become a ghost or explorer, though they add that someone else may have already won before him, even if it's not the most important rank. He looks under his hood and whispers, "Did I miss the very first one?" And what do they think? The guards woke up wide awake, realizing the rules of the game were simple. More monster corpses meant more points, but getting them there was tricky because a single card could buy so much. The officer asked if they had actually wiped out every single one before giving the reward. As the hooded figure pulls back his head and reveals himself, he stands tall among the ghosts in the empty city, introducing himself as the second young master of the Hang family, a future high-ranking member of the Black Tortoise Guild, Huang Wei, who has already undergone special training before landing on this strange home. The officer was even more surprised and asked about the Hang family, owners of the Black Tortoise Guild, while the guards equally shocked, commenting that the Black Tortoise Guild is among the top 10 in Holy Radiance. So, it is no surprise coming from such a prominent family. An official gives him a big nod because his score is amazing. They won the trial, and now he's already pulling out the top 10 on every single Holy Radiance test. Wei's enthusiastic praise makes it feel like an exciting moment where he takes first place, setting up a thrilling future for everyone in Ghost Star to join his team. Deep inside the first part of the game, the guy feels very bored because he's been playing for months without getting a monster and wonders if the mouse has really stopped chasing him or if it just scared everyone else off. Nguyen wonders if he'd ever see a mouse like that again. Smiling face with smiling eyes, a sudden roar shakes the air as a terrifying beast pulls up from nowhere, leaving everyone in shock. Zhang narrows his wide eyes as he realizes a terrifying truth. Behind him, dozens of shadowless wolves are rushing forward to face the beginner zone boss of the Holy Radiance Nation. Kai said that the situation was really bad, because the very first level was a monster stronghold where the wild beasts had stepped in and taken over his realm. The wolves surround the protagonist and whisper, "We've heard the Wolf King is unbeatable in the beginner zone," while his eyes fill with tears. Meeting him means finalization, he asks urgently, wondering why they can't just run away when there are too many wolves to follow. He realizes alone would be impossible, but that his friends won't stop, so the only path forward is to fight until the end and eliminate the Wolf King by working together. Yuan lets off a wild burst of energy that shatters the air, and suddenly he's sprinting toward the earth where many wolves are trying to get away from him. Zhang whispers to his partner, knowing the situation is critical, so he orders her to inject the earth serpent venom into the weapon first before Nguyen does anything else. Kai glares down at the crowd while swinging his ghost hand card, and that sharp look makes the Wolf King's eyes go wide as the deadly strike nearly misses him without leaving any marks behind. The crowd went wild as the hero shouted, "Everyone is stunned, and I'm so angry that you actually didn't break the Wolf King's shield." The Wolf King stretches its massive jaws wide open, unleashing an unimaginable wave of pressure before the pack erupts into a furious, unrelenting charge. Su shouts that this is the worst possible moment because the king has summoned his entire army to strike hard and fast, while Jay wonders if there's another trick to dodge it all when the wolves are finally closing in. The sleepy little mouse wiggles out of bed, staring blankly at where his hands are now, wondering just who's actually holding him. The mouse wakes up in a rage at his boss's angry look and charges straight into him. Did the mysterious mouse really bite the Wolf King's coat? Zhang snaps his eyes tight and spots that the mouse has just cut a hole in the ground. It works perfectly because when their next move comes straight at that wound, the Wolf King's wall gives way completely. Kai charged forward and slammed onto the screen exactly where the mouse had been bitten, causing it to fall right down. Kai immediately saw that it was working and decided he was going to keep shining his eyes on every possible angle until they finally got it done. Zhang rushes straight into the opening with such force that he knocks the enemy back completely and wins the match instantly. Noun's eyes widen as he screams in disbelief that the fight came from a single blow. Jay wonders if the shadowless Wolf King was truly overpowered by him, even though Kai seems baffled by what Jay claims. He's been so surprised when his hero team just crushes the newbie boss in such a short time, making him wonder why they're all expecting a grueling battle instead of an instant win. It actually makes sense now, because his team hadn't even tried to kill a monster for weeks before the one thing finally happened. He did get one. Suddenly, Nguyen dives forward, shouting orders at his pack as they scramble away from the chase. Kai asked if they could really still fight. Everyone agreed it was a good idea. Now that the Wolf King has fallen, those wolves have become mere lambs waiting to be butchered. She had a sudden urge to remind them of the good times that happened right before she said this. The wolf howl rang out like a thunderclap before the fierce predator unleashed a devastating attack that sent dozens of wolves screaming in terror. Su uses her magic to help the protagonist tackle the group of wolves one by one until every single beast is gone. The guy thought he'd been bluffing and laughed when they showed up in a weak stage. Zhang was so excited because he had deliberately left several shadowless wolves at low health earlier to make them hurry up and finish them all right before they can earn points. While Yuan asked what that meant next, Zhang told him that now with those many points, the next move is simply to go straight for the finish line. Hours later, Yuan hears a loud rumble ahead and asks if that belongs to the Holy Radiance Nation in Ghost Star. A newcomer immediately praises the place as magnificent, while Kai replies with a confident smile, saying it's because Sacred Radiance is the main base of the Holy Radiance on Ghost Star. That moment arrives when the small mouse leaps off-screen as the main character declares, "It's all right. This is the free play of a little one, and if fate lets it happen again, we'll catch up." In the bustling reception hall of a beginner test area, an official warmly congratulated a newcomer on passing his exam before introducing himself as Xia Tao, the person tasked with welcoming all who have already arrived. The visitor asked whether he could watch the leaderboard of the recent arrivals, and the official promptly confirmed that the rankings were available to him. Huang laughed and said, "That's just a coincidence. I never thought a cheap household servant from my own family would show up on this trial." He then added, "I'd rather see how it goes with the rankings." Kai wondered why Wei had suddenly shown up here so late. But as Hang celebrated their win, he realized he was just waiting for the rest of his friends to join in. As the crowd beside him murmured, they laughed at the pathetic scores of the losers who had earned nothing but 0 points. His sister spent years working hard for the Hang family, so he could get a ghoster. Yet every day he was met with relentless harassment and insults made by his brother while she struggled to survive there. Jung and Jung are having a friendly conversation where Jung warns him to watch out for his own words while Jung tells him it's all okay. Kai asked everyone if they had a chance to ask for their pardon, then explained that his team was moving up by just 2 spots this week so they could finally win the championship. The hall falls completely silent for a moment until everyone bursts out laughing. Hang asks what he's talking about, realizing 3 people from the bottom of the list have gone crazy and are just joking around. The partner beside him suggests they need some psychological counseling to make sense of it. The protagonist tells his companions not to hide anything anymore. Then Nuon smiles as Jay taps his watch and announces that he was waiting for Hang to say goodbye. And then they decide to put all the cards on the table. Together, they proudly showed off their many victories over time. And everyone got so stunned they couldn't even say anything else. Wong laughed as he spotted dozens of monster corpses, including shadowless wolves and even the ancient shadowless wolf king hidden in their ranks. Wee asks if this might be a silly game where losers try to crush so many monsters like the shadowless wolf king in order to see if it's actually possible at all. Kai said he'd tell everyone what's real if the rankings were up to nothing. People say the rankings are already updated, so their claims stand firm. Hang gets very angry and wonders how it's possible to place themselves among the top 3, while also trying to figure out if there was a plan to eliminate clandestines. The protagonist asks, is that really all? Can they even ask about eliminations? Jang shows up with his watches and confirms they can count toward the score. The officer watches intently as the man puts on a fake bracelet with a name tag that says L Nation, feeling sure he's been caught in a secret. Wong whispered to his assistant about the case, wondering how they could wipe out all the hidden spies before he even knew what was going on. He insisted it was just a small group of dishonest people. So when asked if anyone had seen them in court, everyone shook their heads and said yes. The teacher told his class to watch the class of students and say nobody had seen the fake exams, meaning they were all pretending to take real ones, so their grades could be erased and they would get heavy penalties for doing this. A soft whisper came from the corner of the room and said, "Don't panic." He says he sees clandestines as real facts, but he hasn't got time to tell everyone about them yet. Leo Jun stepped forward with a grin because everyone had finally been told they were right, proving he was just part of it all. The city's boss kept whispering he was there, but everyone else knew he wasn't hiding anything, so the real secret was gone forever. Hang stared at it with pure disbelief, wondering why anyone would trust a man who couldn't lie. Kai finally received the best upgrades possible, knowing Liu had already decided to make sure he can fix everything before things get too complicated. The prize for both spots last year changed their titles. Now the top 2 are Class A, and the first spot is actually Class S. The kids suddenly jumped up and waved for everyone a huge smile, while teachers around them began to look angry and suspicious about the new prizes being too good for the students who were just starting their classes. The protagonist tells you that Ghost Star's gear ranks from S, the strongest, down to F, the weakest. Most well-known gear like Class B and C is already a top-tier choice, whereas Class A and S gear that's so uncommon it feels like a lost dream belongs only to the most adventurous explorers. Jang was getting even more irritated because he figured if Jang got a Class S reward, it would just go right to his face. But the real problem started when Jang pushed that person forward from first place all the way down to 4th. He shouted about this being unfair and said there must be something wrong with the results, claiming that everyone in his family was low status, so why should they be better than him? Kai steps forward and says, "You can't believe what they told you? You're telling them I'm just waiting for them to finish." Wee grabs his blade and stammers, "Hey, did you say something wrong? My entire family, my brother's sick dog, my sister's maid, even myself, is just trash. I used to beat up in that corner all the time." He looks down at himself with a grim smile. When a main character looks up, their eyes widen and a deep, thoughtful seriousness sinks into their face, as if they are weighing something crucial. It hangs on the doorframe that Jang's sister keeps working for him, threatening him with a warning. If you dare push her, think first of what happens next. Jang leaps out of the shadows with a sudden, lightning-fast motion and slices through his opponent like butter. The world went silent when Wee Wee was hurt by a stranger. Everyone else looked stunned too, wondering if he'd made an escape or if he had truly lost his mind. They sat quietly staring at each other, completely stunned, as Kai held a very serious expression. Only Liu was able to give just a faint smile. The young man asked, "Hang came from the Hang family, which is one of those very high guilds, so it feels like he made a bold move against my side." Wei, clutching a gaping wound, asked the question with desperate clarity. Did you really dare try to strike me? And do you know who you're actually fighting? The hero knows this guy is a monster because he threatened his entire family while begging the truth about whether it matters at all. They all fell silent as Jang stepped forward and declared that in this endless war for survival, family is their greatest shield. If a single person tries to harm anyone, he won't hesitate to get rid of every enemy, no matter who it is. As Kai charged forward, he slammed his fist against Wei's chest, sending a jet of dark red blood flying through the air like an explosion of sparks. The system tells Explorer Jang that he cleared a tough level 1 boss and ready to hand over 6 XP for his loot. Is this what you want to do? The man sat down and told a loud story about how he could only get 6 XP for his entire family, making them seem as bad as they looked. His daring move to crush the young master of the Hang family sparked outrage across all of Ghoster, for a single loss doesn't end in total defeat or actual death there. Instead, the powerful Wu Guild within the Hang clan is so formidable that even one such blunder from the young master would be seen as an incredibly bold act. Lu laughs because he sees the danger behind the boy's tough exterior. He's too bold for the world to fear him right now. Huang was furious because he had been attacked by a stranger, so he shouted at Kai to pull out his own weapon. But when Kai looked back, he realized it wasn't really him who hurt him, so he immediately turned his attention to his own gun and used it to stop the fight. He then says, "We can go with him as he'll lead us to our rewards." In another place, June tells them they've waited long enough for special military gear, so open these quickly and look. Nuon opens hers and finds herself holding the Jade of Life, the dream for every beginner medic. Lu tells you that when you use the Jade of Life, your body gets extra strength, your mind gets lighter, and your health gets stronger, all because you have one special gear item that adds points toward both healing and medicine in addition to boosting your spirit. Jay is thrilled when he sees his leather armor, because June explains that the Black Rock Rhinoceros hide adds up to 16 points more in defense and strength, cuts your damage by half, and makes this a perfect balance for fighting both off and on. Sue pushes her lover hard to rush him, forcing him to grab his prize and widen those wide, eager eyes. A notification sent by the system tells us clearly why we need to find out what's going on with that piece of equipment right now. June asks June if the item really demands a special ID or identification card to be seen, while June replies, "Oh right, if you need one, that's only possible when you have something absolutely perfect." Lu confirmed the rule about high-end gear needing ID cards, which turned out to be a lucky match since he also had some of those specific ones along with him. The system activates instantly, revealing you are the 9 Tribulations Soul Hunter, a weapon that boosts your strength, penetration, and agility by 9 points each time you use it. Its special effect makes every soul hunt increase your critical hit rate and damage by 10%, stacking up to a maximum of 90% before resetting all bonuses after any critical hit is taken. Jan was right. When newbies are hit by the fire, they barely get a single point from it because the weapon only cares about killing them with a few shots, so even if he gets hit in the very last shot, that blow doesn't matter at all to him. He pauses to ask if this isn't actually an act of exploitation that harms his brother, while she wonders if the machinery can be swapped out. Leo replied with a worried look, telling him it would be troublesome, though he decided to try anyway. So, the main character tells them they don't have to give it away and insists on keeping this one. He knew this was the ultimate weapon to crush him. So every single time he landed a critical hit, his damage jumped to 20 times normal. So hard it made the shadowless Wolf King scream. But his critical hit rate is so low that even if he hits the right spot with an opponent who can kill him instantly, he might die first and never get lucky again. So every time you use that 9 Tribulation Soul Hunter, your weapon's accuracy gets better, often by more than 10%, and sometimes it hits with a 90% success rate, making it the kind of reliable tool most people want to keep in their pockets. Lou said it was perfectly okay because he just loves having it like this. Even if he wants to go back home later, he can choose to leave now instead of waiting until he's done with the test. He also reminded him that someone might be coming over later and told him to stay calm while heading back home. He pedals his bike through the city slum with a sudden hunch. It all seems too easy, but everyone else won't believe him. Zhang felt like he was walking into a very expensive club right now. So when a shiny new car suddenly popped out of nowhere at the corner, he didn't see any people or cars around him. He stared at it with wide eyes and asked himself why someone would actually drive such a luxury vehicle unless they were so rich that they could afford one like that without having to pay anything but their own ticket. Kai steps through the open door and shouts his old brother, "Hey, I got you again. What did this new beginner thing come up with?" That exact second, a group of men stepped forward right before him and charged at him. It was a strange silence as everyone waited for the return, until Huang finally spoke up, noting how Kai had performed exceptionally well during the very first test session. The protagonist asks if he is Hangi's older brother and what he wants. Suddenly, someone pushed him, slammed the door shut, and two men grabbed his arms. He reaches out to grab the baton and stumbles back as he realizes that Kai has already been taken away from him for mental illness. The guy says the hero must realize that the Huang folks only bully each other since nobody wants to fight back against a person inside their own bloodline. So he'll stop threatening Wei from logging in for just 1 month, and then keep blocking him from ever trying to get into his account again. The protagonist gets turned around by a sudden kick and flies through the air after being knocked into the door. The girl in Hongda asked what was happening, but a voice nearby said she'd heard someone warn her about getting lost before heading back home and wondered why she hadn't listened. It was a quiet moment in the bustling city where the Supreme Commander Wei Ying stood with his companion, a young girl named Swan. Huangda asked why that vital person was standing right now, and Wei smiled back telling him that it's all about that little one who just upset everyone that day. Huangda wonders why his own son might be asking this question so directly about something impossible to find out by himself. The protagonist, equally stunned, wondered if the city's most powerful leader would actually be present because of him. Zhang stood up to thank Hongda, but his smile quickly turned into a sad frown when the words, "not understanding," slipped out of his mouth as the heavy police presence took hold around him. Ying was telling him not to worry because he had a genuine reason for going into this situation. During his very first test with everyone else, they all scored amazingly high. Is it true that after quitting the game, his two friends got sent back into the army too? Thinking you'd also want them along? Lon asks if he knows what a new class is about, noting there are already many classes for explorers on Ghoster where every 20 levels brings them a new identity. As they go through each job change, their character and skills quickly shift. Some of them become much stronger while others slowly weaken. The old jobs often become obsolete once you switch careers, so the army keeps inventing new ones just to keep fighting and gaining strength. The girl asks him if he'd even consider becoming a soldier for a fresh team, wondering how much she's prepared for this big challenge. She whispers, "Don't worry about it, because there's nothing forced about it." She even says she checked his family's info beforehand and knew his brother was sick long ago. If Zhang decides to go into the army today, he won't just shield his little brother from danger. It will also pay for every single doctor visit he needs to keep him safe. He pauses quietly as the decision hangs heavy in the air. The commander paused, watching as he asked himself whether his choice was right. He knew that going to Ghoster had been necessary for paying his brother's medical bills, so now he needed to decide how to handle it before he even made his decision. If he agrees to report next day, the instructor will meet him then. As Kai watched his friends descend the stairs, he took a moment to breathe before finally breaking character and saying, "I won't be joining you." They're confused and ask why they don't understand what's happening. The protagonist smiles, knowing it will be good for people who have already shown they can grow big and strong over the years, like a Jewish disciple or someone with no one's medical training. He told his story about how being in a new class changed everything. So he asked himself if anyone remembers when those drunk soldiers first showed up and why they got so much respect from the army back then. He ended up in the same place where he could not have been without a chance for growth. So now he is stuck with what remains after all that time lost. He admitted he had let his guard down too easily in a time when the Hang family acted shamelessly, so soon after they pulled back from areas under their control. He thanks them for that help, but says they and his brother have relied on each other for over 10 years, making him far more accustomed to controlling his own fate than depending entirely on others. The teacher gently tells students they're now facing a big crisis, promising that his new course will help every single person live better, and then asks if anyone would believe him in doing this for them all. The protagonist smiles, knowing his story isn't about being the most famous hero of all time. Instead, he simply wants to make sure everyone knows how safe his tight-knit family will live. The commander tells them to forget the lie and admits he truly understands what the boy means, because habits built over a decade of life can't be fixed in mere days. He reminds him that his brother has no time left for this apocalypse, and being alone is not viable anyway. He then proposes a serious bet. Over the next month, the army will keep guarding his family from the Huang gangsters' attacks. If he can finally pay for his brother's surgery in time, it shows he has the guts to stay out of the war and let them decide. They won't accept him unless they get a good reason to do so, but he needs to prove he can handle the situation himself before they do that. So if he decides to fail, the army steps in to fund his brother's medical bills, so it lasts longer, but he'll still need to sign up anyway and get told what you think. Everyone went quiet for a split second as Zhang finally smiled and said, "The deal is settled." After that, elsewhere, Kai thinks from now on there is too much pressure from the military and he must act fast to get enough money just so he can get his brother a good surgery. The protagonist leaves his brother's letter, confirming that after passing the test and coming back in first place, Jang walks away worried about the Hang family's threat and realizing that while it was impossible to live there anymore, moving to a safer area is the only way forward for him. Kai stepped out from a trading post at Sacred Radiance in Ghoster, ready to face his first boss alone. But he quickly realized that monsters aren't just dangerous. They require a team to fight back, so he decided to join a guild and form a squad to make sure he survived. The attendant shook her head as if to say, "We're sorry, but since you've offended the Hang family, your name is currently on the blacklist. So if something truly goes wrong without an escape plan, Ghoster will be forced to do all the work himself and not let anyone else help him out." The protagonist stood at a dangerous crossroads near the Sacred Radiance's edge, wondering if breaking into the Hang clan meant losing his job forever or if his next quest would just start in an entirely new world. That moment arrives when someone comes by and says, "Are you having trouble picking the best spot to hunt monsters?" Hu Yin, the mysterious 29-year-old seer, tells her friend to find this spot because it costs just 100 star coins each time you try. Jang watches her back and tells the boy he's not an atheist who will wait for him to finish talking so they can bargain about 20 or 30 bucks, or even if she wants you to pay a free fortune call to see what luck brings up first, and there's no problem at all. Yin instantly turned around to ask if it's actually free again, wondering if she should stop being so strict about superstition once Kai has returned, while she quietly thought he'd come back only because the situation was now open and decided to use this moment as practice for her own skills. A bright light flashes, and the guard who was watching said, "I am in danger," and told him if he doesn't want to join up, he should go to King's Valley. The protagonist thinks that he truly is in danger since he risks becoming a target of the Hang family, but the rules within the safe zone prohibit eliminations. So, the family cannot act easily against him there. Currently, the preferred location for